everybody. I'm Jeanette Horn. I'd like to welcome you to the Key Performance Ideas webinar, PLANtastic, hosted Hyperion Planning in the Cloud. Our presenter, Brian Decker, has over 15 years of experience working with companies to help them improve enterprise resource management and enterprise resource planning. Brian has helped corporate executives, directors, managers provide thought leadership aligning business processes with corporate initiatives. Thank you for joining us today, Brian. Looking forward to your presentation.
Great. Thank you, Jeanette. Again, good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us for our launch of PLANtastic. It's a new and exciting offering for us. As Jeanette mentioned, I've been working with ERP and EPM, in the ERP and EPM space for over 15 years. So first, let me give you a little background about who we are, who KPI is, and why we are here. Then we'll go through some of the detail on PLANtastic and where it fits. So who is Key Performance Ideas? A lot of you might not know who we are yet. So KPI is a full-service consulting company. Our focus is on the enterprise performance management space, which is the EPM space. Our main focus within that space is an Oracle product suite called Hyperion, and then the related technologies around Hyperion. Related technologies would be things like ODI, which is their Oracle, the data integrator product, and OBIEE for business intelligence. We have some expertise there, but really we are a Hyperion-focused organization. We started about 7 years ago as a Hyperion implementation firm, and we've kind of grown to include service offerings for remote administration. We've also developed a hosting solution. For our business, it's really grown organically through the years, and it's been mostly through references. I mean, mainly we get these references. We listen to our customers' requirements. We deliver the solution, meets those requirements, and make a happy customer, and they turn into a reference, which then turns into more business for us. So it's really been an organic growth for us. It's been great. Our remote administration program, which we call SMART, which it's system maintenance and remote troubleshooting. It's remote administration. It was born from customers who need to support their Hyperion application. So once you've implemented it, you know, there's a maintenance aspect to it and an administration aspect to it, and sometimes those resources are hard to find. So we have this remote administration offering, and then hosting it's a business where we've grown as a result of our customers that are trying to get Hyperion up and running faster. Whether it's they want to implement, they can't wait for IT to acquire servers and go through that whole process. So we have the environment to get them up and running, a quick start program in our own environment. And then we also have a backup and recovery. We have customers who aren't doing the backups correctly, or they want a solution that's off-site where we can do their backups and disaster recovery. So our hosting solution has been a result of some direct needs of our customers asking us if we can help them there. And so we put that together for them. What we're going to talk about today is the convergence of all three of these offerings into a single offering. Let me advance a little bit here into a single offering. PLANtastic's a fully hosted Hyperion planning solution. So we leverage best practices, implementation, and strategies in a scalable, secure, hosted environment with ongoing support provided by our dedicated administration group, which I was just talking about. PLANtastic is intended to be a turnkey solution, but at the same time, it allows client-specific configurations. I mean, at the same time, we understand that not every customer is the same. There's some similarities. So we build this turnkey and then understand that there's going to be some configurations that need to take place. Just as a level set here, before we get into the details, let's talk a little bit about what is Hyperion planning. At its core, I mean, Hyperion is a centralized planning system. It's for the enterprise. It's used for things like your annual plan, your monthly, quarterly forecasts. It provides the workflow and process management necessary for the enterprise budgeting and planning. It aligns top-down and bottom-up methodology to achieve the goals of the company. Right? Consistent assumptions ensure that everybody is clear on the goals of the company and the strategy of execution around that. So the common allocation and calculations, they drive efficiency, and at the same time they ensure accuracy. The engine behind Hyperion planning is Essbase. A lot of folks have used Essbase in the past. It's a really powerful engine. It's a database that's underneath it. It's the industry leader in multidimensional analysis. It's a really powerful reporting tool. It's always been known as speed of thought analytics. That's Essbase. It's proven to deliver that. As you think of it and you want to analyze something. It's that speed of thought. You plug it into Essbase, and you can churn out the solutions. So the result of this, you end up spending less time managing the process, and then you spend more time getting the numbers right. You know, what prevents organizations from moving into a planning solution, right? I mean, those things all sound good, but obviously there's some obstacles here. Why hasn't everyone implemented it? There are roadblocks that have prevented organizations from implementing a planning solution across the enterprise. I mean, we see those roadblocks in most customers that we deal with. The software is complex, you know. So the software is complex, and the consulting is not simple. So, you know, the implementation projects can be expensive. So with PLANtastic, we are offering no upfront project costs. The consulting costs are included in the monthly fee. You know, the second obstacle that we see very often is the infrastructure side. Getting the environment set up, it's consistently an obstacle. You know, you first have to determine the correct architecture. You have to acquire the hardware. You have to set up the security. You know, all of these things take time. All the approval processes and things that are in place in most organizations, they take time to get pushed through. And then finally getting that environment stood up takes a long time. Well, we already have that, you know, and it's all included in PLANtastic. You know, once the system's implemented, you know, it needs to be supported. So the manpower costs, there's a monthly charge to that or a yearly charge to that. You know, with PLANtastic, there isn't one. It's all included. There's no need to hire those administrators. We can handle that for you. So it's all included in our monthly fee. The software costs. I wish I had a great one for you on that one. There are software costs. You know, they can't be avoided. So the licensing with Oracle, we can help you with it. We can help you work with the Oracle rep. We can help you figure out the correct licensing metric. And we do that all the time. You know, and then the implementation time frame, you know, that part of that goes back to the infrastructure side. The time frame, getting that all stood up and then getting the implementation done, it all takes time, you know, but we have that set up. We have it's fast, you know, and I'm going to talk a little bit about how fast it is later. But we're leveraging best practices. We're leveraging a pre-built application. So it's not, it's way shorter than a normal time frame for an implementation for planning. So we think now it's time to rethink your planning options. You know, Salesforce.com forced organizations to rethink their CRM systems. Organizations were focused on going down one of two paths with CRM. They could implement a large CRM package, you know, and I don't need to name them, but you guys know the large CRM packages out there, and they would fit their enterprise, and they did fit. They could do everything, but it costs a lot of money to implement that big system, you know. Or salespeople themselves, instead of, you know, going with the big CRM package within an organization, maybe they didn't have something. They would use something like ACT, a simple contact management database. You know, so Salesforce.com was born out of that, right? It's you know, they have the best of both worlds, you know, and offering an enterprise level solution and a full software as a service model. You know, we offer enterprise level planning system hosted with minimal implementation, all for a low monthly fee. We think that it's the same as where Salesforce.com is. You know, with PLANtastic, we can do for finance what SFDC did for CRM. You know, PLANtastic allows you to move off of Excel. We use best practices to optimize your planning process. While at the same time, we reduce the capital outlay. You know, forget the traditional process of deploying software with a lengthy, expensive implementation. One low monthly fee for PLANtastic, you know, deliver the planning to your organization. One area where I think we're better than Salesforce is that we support the application with our own administrators. So there's no need to hire an administrator. It's included. At the same time, we'll reduce your operating costs and improves your ROI. You know, the return on investment is there while helping manage cash flow. Let's get a little bit into PLANtastic. I mean, in a nutshell, PLANtastic provides KPI customers with an all-inclusive entry into Oracle's Hyperion planning. It's all for one low monthly cost. Our consulting team members have been implementing these solutions, have been implementing planning for years. Before you know, becoming consultants, they all worked in the corporate world. They had jobs in finance. They were controllers. They were FP&A. You know, so a lot of the folks on the phone are probably within those organizations right now. so that we understand, our folks understand the problems that you deal with on a day-to-day basis. That blend of finance experience and the implementation that they've gained since then, it's helped us to develop the best practices. We're using those best practices and leveraging those best practices in this pre-built planning application that we developed. So pre-built doesn't mean that it's all set in stone. We realize that every company is different, and that each will have some unique features, and there's going to be a need for some specific things in the application. Every organization is a little bit different, so we offer that option to add customizations a la carte per the customer's need. Customers are connected to our secure data center with a secure VPN connection. No more data loss to worry about, backups and disaster recovery, things like that. They're included. Never worry about administering the system. All the administration is done by our team. We have the EPM industry's first onshore administration group. That's our smart team that I mentioned a little bit earlier. How does this differ from a typical implementation? Most of you have probably gone through an implementation of one sort or another. There's no big upfront investments in the implementation. If you put in an ERP system, you traditionally put in a planning system, you have this big expense in the beginning, and what we're saying is it's all included in the monthly cost. We deliver the full solution much quicker, than a traditional implementation, and there's no upfront cost like that. So there's no more reliance on IT, to maintain the systems and patches and backups and security, and as the list goes on and on. With our best practices, we pre-built the application and the forms and the reports. We set up the hierarchy templates to ease the dimension building and align with your chart of accounts. There's no specialized staff. As we go back to supporting it again, there's no specialized staff to support the application that's necessary. We handle all of that. I wanted to talk a little bit about what we're including in this, right? We've talked about leveraging best practices. We're talking about all that's included in customization, some of the customizations included. But we put together a basic list to give you an idea of really what are we talking about here. I don't need to read it to you, so there's a list here, and I want to give you an idea of what we're including. But as you can see, it's a year plan and forecast data, monthly and actual data. Automation routines are included. Best practice web forms, best practice financial reports are included. User acceptance testing, we're going to go through and do the testing, and the scripts are included. Setting up the user security, it's an important part of it. It's all included. We also provide design and system documentation, so it's not like we leave you hanging out there without documentation at the end. You can take this thing to the next level on your own if you need. Cost. Let's talk about cost in our next slide here. It's rough. What we've determined as we've figured out implementations and all the costs associated with supporting and the hardware and everything set up, it's 35% of a traditional on-premise. And there's some things that are going to affect that. What are a few factors? I've listed them below. Of course, the numbers of users are important. An organization that uses 20 users, it's going to be a little different than one that needs 20 or that needs 500 users. So we can handle either. Our systems are totally scalable. The number of environments, that's definitely a factor that can affect your costs. What we're including with this is a production environment and a development environment. Some organizations may require a test or a quality assurance or a training environment. We can stand those up. It's not a big deal. It's just, we figured most organizations are going to fit into that production and development environment. Like I mentioned, every organization has unique qualities. We consider these must-haves in the implementation, and as we build in some of these must-haves, it's going to affect the cost a little bit. We haven't seen it take a huge amount. So service level agreements are another area. What we're including is 12x5 support. Do you need 24x7? We found most organizations don't. They usually have a 12-hour window 5 days a week where they really need support. It's a U.S.-based company will need that support in kind of U.S.-based hours or East Coast hours. But if you require 24x7, we can help you there. It's just we found that most folks don't. What are the next steps here? So what does it take to get this process started? First, it's contact us. Let us know that you're interested. My contact information, a couple more slides from now, it's at the back of this deck. First thing we'll do, we sit down and talk through your specific requirements. what do you need? And some of those requirements were on the last slide. How many users? What are you trying to do? What are the custom configurations that you're going to need? What are the environments that you're going to need stood up? We'll walk through the specific requirements. We'll build out a rapid implementation roadmap. We also figure out what are the appropriate licensing that will be necessary. We get Oracle involved, and we work through the license requirement and figure out how to get you the best price on that. We'll work through the SLAs and determine what support hours and the things that you need. We have the environments ready. We can get started right away. We just got to get through determining the requirements and the roadmap, and then it's standing it up and getting started. So think of Key Performance Ideas as a one-stop shop for all of your Hyperion needs. Think of our PLANtastic solution as an all-in-one enterprise-level planning solution. A little short presentation there. I know I didn't build out a huge deck, but I thought that as we rolled this out, we'd probably have some questions at the end. So I'd like to have a question and answer session. If you go to your Viewing Presenters application and select the Q&A icon, then a text box will appear. So if you type the question in and send it to all panelists, I'll get the question, and we can start to answer some of those questions. We give it a second here as some of this stuff comes through. Okay, so how long does it take to get up and running? Well, there's lots of factors here, right? So getting up and running, there's a lot of factors, and as much as I hate to say it depends, it really does. But I can tell you our goal is 12 weeks. So if we're starting out and going through the design with you and gathering the requirements, our goal is to get that up and running in 12 weeks, and we can use it as a benchmark. This means that you don't have to do things like process re-engineering, though, right? So if that would be a whole different discussion. This is using best practices, getting in there and mapping it out and getting the PLANtastic up and going. So our goal is 12 weeks. That'd be design, develop, test, report, etc. Is there a user minimum? Well, so that's an excellent question, and I should have mentioned that earlier. Oracle has a user minimum on the licensing side, right? So if you look at any of their applications, whether it's planning or HFM or S-Base, they all have a user minimum, and that user minimum is 25. We don't have a user minimum for PLANtastic. So if you want 10 users, we can set you up for 10 users. It's really the amount of users that you're going to use, not the amount of users that you're licensed for. So if you're licensed for 25, but you're using 10, we're going to set you up on PLANtastic for 10 users. We don't have a user minimum. Okay, here. How long is the contract? How long do we need to set up our hosting contract for? So our contracts are generally for 3 years. We have a 3-year term on them. If you need something shorter, we can do that. I mean, we can put together a longer one if you want to try to extend it out and spread those costs out even a little farther. So we could put together a 5-year contract for you. It's really what fits for your business. What about hosting other Hyperion applications? That's a really interesting question, and we actually get that a lot. The answer is yes. We can host any Hyperion product. So even if you have planning already implemented, we can host that. We can bring it over and host it in our environment. Wouldn't be PLANtastic right then. It doesn't fit that offering, but we've got the data center set up. We've got the environments ready. So if you want to move something over, we can definitely do that. I mean, if you have a disaster recovery need, for Hyperion, we can also do that. We can set that up in our data center so your information rolls over and it's secure. Okay, let me see here. SLAs. We have SLAs, yeah. As what are the guidelines? We really work with the customer to determine them. So as I mentioned earlier, on the SLA side, we can handle the 24/7. We found that most customers don't need that. We found that, as we work with organizations that are on the East Coast, they usually want like a 7 to 7 East Coast time SLA, or if they're West Coast, it's like 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. West Coast time. And that usually works for most of the companies that we work with. But if you have something that's more 24/7 and we're supporting folks that are around the world, we can definitely do that. We can definitely set that up. Okay, here's an interesting. What if we want to take it in-house after 3 years? That's no problem. If we've been managing the system for you, and at the end of your contract you want to take it in-house, no problem. You own it. You've bought the licenses. You've paid for, we've done the 3 years worth of work and hosting for you, and now you decided, that maybe there's a mandate within your company to bring it all inside. We've seen that before. We can definitely handle that and help you move it back over into your own data center. That's no problem.